again, everybody. Welcome into the Chicken Fried Football Forecast. How in the world are you? I'm Scott Griffin, along with my friend and comedian Tim Statum. Tim, what's going on?
Scott, I'm doing great, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. How did you do in your picks last week?
I was 7 for 5 last week, but one of my
that's impossible. 7 out of 5.
You know, everybody thought I was crazy, including you. I picked Mississippi State to stun LSU. LSU was a 7-point favorite, and they beat them by 30 points.
Yeah.
And my other stunner was Louisville to beat Clemson. I think they beat them by 30 points.
Yeah, you were stunned by that yourself, wasn't you?
Yeah, I was stunned. I still don't have no clothes on after that.
All right, so we got a lot of picks. Some very interesting games this week that we didn't really think would be interesting, and we'll get into that in just a moment. This is the Chicken Fried Football Forecast brought to you by InnovateAthlete.com. INNOV8, the number 8, athlete.com. The best place to go get your pre, post-workout, your protein, everything you need. It's all tested by the World Anti-Doping Association. If you got a kid that needs to add muscle or you want to do it yourself or whatever the case may be, this is the best stuff. It's owned by Heath Evans, former Auburn running back at the NFL Network too, among other guys, and it is a fantastic place to go to get your product. So check it out, InnovateAthlete.com, INNOV8 athlete.com. I'll tell you more about it later. But you type in the code Griff, and you'll get 10% off of your purchases. All right, are we ready for this week?
I think so. I'm ready.
All right, well, let's kick it off, as we say in the Chicken Fried Football Forecast. All right, we're going to start with Arkansas and Texas A&M in Arlington. Now, this is a difficult matchup of some coaches. At least one's on a hot seat. The other one's seat may be warm.
I think this is a loser-leave-town match. The loser is going to leave town.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think this is it. Brett Bielema, the only thing he's got going for him is that good-looking wife.
Yeah.
And now that he's losing, he needs to start winning because that just makes his child support go up because she's going to probably leave him too. So, and you don't want that. I've been down that road, so you don't want that.
You are an expert at that, I think.
I tell you what, I have been divorced so many times. You drive through Graysville and everybody's got a bumper sticker on. It says honk if you've been married to Tim.
Wow. That's a lot of time. Now, this was intriguing because it's always in Arlington, and so it's a neutral site, and it's pretty split as far as tickets and everything. So what do you think?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I would love to be able to pick the Hogs in this thing. Because, you know, I'm a big fan of Brett Bielema, I really am. And not that I don't like Summerlin. I like him too. I think he's done good. He's having to put up with a lot of junk over there right now. But Texas A&M is favored by 3. And I just, you know, he's never beat Summerlin. So that I kind of lean toward that a little bit. I think Texas A&M's probably got better athletes. If you look at them across the front, I don't know. The coaching's about probably even. I'm going to say Texas A&M wins this game.
But Arkansas is the better quarterback, wouldn't you think, with Austin Allen?
I do, but I don't know. It's one of the things. If you know, this would have been one of my stunners if it would have been the other way around, and the 3 points would have been given to Arkansas. I would have still taken Texas A&M. I think they find a way to win this game because I think all the players really like Summerlin. I do, and I think they're going to show up. They're going to play for the coach.
Well, let's hear from Brett Bielema, who talks about he's made some changes, and he thinks his team is ready.
A&M's a good team, and you know we've been in the lead in these games a couple times and have let it go away. I've stressed to our guys all along that you know that they're more than ready to win this football game. They're more ready to win games in general, and to believe that for 4 quarters is until you know as young men, and kind of like all men in general, you tend to only believe what you truly see. You know, you have a hard time comprehending and believing in things that haven't appeared in front of you, you haven't witnessed, and we're fighting to get over that hump. We're scratching every day, and I think when that hump day comes, a lot of good things can happen. But this Saturday, A&M is the only hump that we're worried about, and we got to play a 4-quarter game.
Now, Tim, history is on your side because the Aggies are 5-0 against the Razorbacks.
Better athlete. It's probably a little bit deeper than Arkansas. And I think both of them coach about the same. I don't know who I would put over the other. I think it'd be pretty much a toss-up.
A&M is second in the SEC in scoring, 37.7 points a game. Now, that's an early look, obviously, after 3 games, but that's still a heck of a lot of points. Let's hear from Kevin Sumlin, who says, don't make too much out of that 5-0 record he has against the Razorbacks.
Every game's mutually exclusive, so we approach it that way with every game. So there's a lot of players playing this game that weren't on the field last year on both sides.
All right, well, let's move on. We go to Kentucky. Florida at Kentucky. They won that miracle game against Tennessee last week. This is about as even as you can get. Florida 1-1, Kentucky undefeated. Of course, they beat your boy Will Muschamp in South Carolina last week.
Oh, I mean, beat the shoes off of him. I'm talking about. And I'll tell you, we've talked about it off the air, me and you. I like Kentucky. I like what Stoops is doing up there. I like them a lot. Florida, I like McElwain, big fan. He might be the best offensive coordinator Alabama's ever had up to now, and we don't know what's going to, happen now. Florida is a 4-point favorite in this game, and they're playing in Kentucky. This is one of my stunners. I'm taking Kentucky. I think Kentucky is rolling right now, and I know a lot of times you say, well, when Mississippi State or somebody gets to rolling, you say, I don't know about that. I like Kentucky. I do. Because you think about it, Scott, all 3 phases, offense, defense, special teams, they're good. They may not be great, but they're good. And they don't make a lot of mistakes, protect the football pretty good. I think Kentucky, and you realize if they win this game, that sets them up to win the East.
Florida is last in total offense in the SEC. Last, 286 yards a game.
I told you last week, you thought I was over here smoking something. When I told you Mississippi State would stun LSU, I didn't know that they'd take their clothes off like they did, but they tore them up. 30 points, 37-7, and I think this is going to be another one.
All right, let me give you some numbers. Florida last in total offense. Last in scoring offense, Tim, 21.5 points a game. But here's the other kicker. Scoring defense, Florida is 12th out of 14 teams. And in total defense yardage-wise, 13th out of 14. They're not doing anything good.
They're not, and I like Kentucky. And I do, and I want Florida to do well. I do, because I think the conference is stronger when they're doing good. In Tennessee and the big teams, I think the conference is better. But I just don't. I tell you, I like Kentucky.
Jim McElwain's record in one possession games. How about 16-4?
Wow, that's pretty good. You're right. I haven't monitored it. This goes all the way back to Dick Zorns at Eastern Washington. That you actually practice those scenarios so you can tell your guys we've done it.
All right, let's go to another game that falls just like these two, where they kind of have, I call it late October importance, even though we're only in late September. And that is Mississippi State at Georgia. That's a 6 o'clock ESPN kick. Georgia leads the all-time series 17-6. Both teams are undefeated.
I'm going with Georgia because I think they've got a hangover from that 37-7 win, and they're all partying, and they're out there milking cows, and they do whatever they do over in Mississippi, and they're going to come into Georgia, and some of them's going to come out there with one cleat on. They're not even going to be fully dressed,
Wow.
And they're not going to be ready mentally, and Georgia is going to skull drag them. And I think they beat them by more than a number. The number's 6. They'll cover that. Georgia wins the game.
I had a chance to talk to Kirby Smart this week, and here's a little bit of our conversation talking about stopping Nick Fitzgerald. Hey, Kirby.
Hello. Scott.
Just curious. So I watched the Notre Dame game, and it was such a gutsy game, and you guys win it, on the road. How that might serve you as you get into SEC schedule, you think?
Well, I think it was similar to an SEC atmosphere. They're a very similar team because they're a really big physical team. So certainly think that kind of thing will help. Whether you win or lose that game, I really think it helps you because of the quality of opponent you play. Certainly it gives us a little bit of confidence, but there's things we didn't do well in that game that you only get better if you learn from them. and sometimes you learn more from losing than you do from winning. You got to be careful that you don't get a false sense of where you are when you win and don't necessarily play real well. You've got to improve, and you got to impress upon your team that you got to learn lessons without losing. And hopefully we did that in that game.
And against a guy like Nick going against the State, you know, the old school thinking was, let's hit him. If he's going to run, we're going to hit him, make him think about running. Is that still a mentality these days, or is it all schematic and just defending a guy?
No, I mean, you want to punish the guy with the ball, regardless of who it is. Wideouts, skill guys, backs, tight ends, it doesn't matter who it is. It's the same way with the quarterback. But, I mean, you got to wrap it up and get him on the ground, too. So you can get over-aggressive and start talking about hit him, and you got to grab a body part and hang on at times with this guy because he's big and he's elusive. So it's not just about, you know, where you hit him, how you hit him. We got to get him on the ground. We got to affect him, and we got to try to wear him down.
Dan Mullen can coach. You remember he had Mississippi State in the top 5 just a couple of years ago. You remember that?
I'm going to tell you something, Scott. And people will think I'm crazy when I say this. He may be the second best coach in this conference.
You may be right. So I asked him what he learned from that, because they're getting all this love now, right, in the SEC, 3-0 beating LSU. What did he learn from that a couple of years ago to get ready for this team? Did you learn or take anything from that as your team looks like it's ready to do this kind of role again?
You know what? I think I've learned a lot. Now, the guys on the team haven't been in that situation. But, you know, as a coach, and how to manage the guys and you know, how to manage what expectations come up and different pressures come up within the team, I think you learn that, and you get experience from doing that. And, you know, so I think that certainly has helped guys on our staff. Our coaches have been through all of that. This past week we won the game, so we get a little bit of attention. And if we win again this week, we'll get a little bit more attention. And I think our coaches know how to help the players deal with some of that attention that they get in those situations.
It's a testament to the league, right, too, because you win 2 or 3 and automatically you jump in the top 20, top 15. And
it is, and I think it's hard in the schedule you play. You know, I mean, we're playing consecutive top 15 teams. You know, I don't know if anybody in the country so far has played consecutive weeks against top 15 teams. And you know, and so I think that you know, it just shows the depth of the league. And you know, and then that if you're going to play in this league, you better be ready to bring your A game every week, because there's not many teams out there that have to do that week in and week out, is play consecutive games against top 15 teams.
As Mullen just said, back-to-back top 15 teams, and you think that's going to get the best of them?
I do. I think they'll be a little overconfident because, you know, you beat LSU, and you're somebody that hadn't beat LSU a lot, and you beat them that bad. That makes that head swell up a little bit.
All right, let me tell you something that's going to scare you. Mississippi State's number 2 in total offense, 493 yards a game. They're number 1 in scoring offense, 47.7 points a game.
I think Kirby Smart's a really good coach, and his recruiting, you know, he recruited really good last year. His recruiting's picking up. I think the players have bought in. I think he's got a pretty good coaching staff, and not saying that, you know, Mississippi State doesn't, but you got to travel over there, and those fans, you know, they'll come out, and I don't know. I think it's a hangover game. I really do. I think it's a hangover game.
All right, we'll see what happens. Next, we go to Syracuse at LSU. Believe it or not, Syracuse is 2-1. LSU, of course, 2-1 with their first loss to Mississippi State. Now, look, LSU's played 2 horrible teams, beat them up bad. The first time they played a legitimate team, Tim, they got whipped, and that was last week. They will not have Darius Geis in this game, their top running back, and this is a 6 o'clock ESPN2 kick. It's in Baton Rouge. What do you think?
Well, I think LSU wins the game. I do not think they'll cover. They're a 23.5-point favorite. They will not cover. You know, a few years ago, they went up to Syracuse, and that was a really tough game. They won that game, but they struggled up to about the fourth quarter. I mean, that game could have went either way. So I'm going to have to lean LSU on that one right there, but they will not cover the 23.5.
All right, and even though it's at Tiger Stadium.
Yeah, and, well, you know, and it's going to be down there, and those guys are going to have that jambalaya going. They're going to be drunk and probably cussing, and that helps Orgeron because he's the only one that can understand what they're saying when they're cussing. So that's going to be good. And I do. I believe you could go out there if you're LSU and play these people barefooted and still beat them.
That sounds like your kind of atmosphere, by the way.
Barefooted, naked, and cussing. I'm all for that.
Had some jambalaya thrown in. Here's Ed Orgeron's thoughts on this particular game. And, he kind of takes the blame for that deal last week.
That was a bad performance by us. I totally take the blame. I'm going to get this team right. We're going to continue. We're going to stay the course. We're going to take it one game at a time. But I can totally understand their disappointment. I can totally understand their frustration. This is not LSU football, and that's not what we came here for, but we're going to get it fixed.
All right, now let's go to another one that's kind of in that lukewarm category. But South Carolina got beat at home by Kentucky, only scoring 13 points. They got Louisiana Tech come in, and Louisiana Tech is, that's not your normal bad football team. This is a team that's won some games the last few years, and South Carolina's going to have a mat on here.
Well, I tell you, it is because, the Louisiana Tech, the Bulldogs, here's the thing. If they get the seconds of people that don't want to go to LSU, that's pretty good because LSU's covered up with talent down there. And, Louisiana's covered up. And I think they've got a really good football team, and they play really hard. But South Carolina's they've got to get it together because they looked terrible last week. South Carolina wins this game. They're a 10.5-point favorite. I don't think they cover the 10.5,
really?
But I do think South Carolina wins the game.
All right, and that is a 2:30 SEC Network game at Williams-Brice Stadium. Had a chance to talk to Will Muschamp this week. Disappointing loss last Saturday. So what do you learn about your team in the first year of your program there, now in second year, to bounce back, whether it be practice during a game or whatever?
Well, all I can go off is two productive practices on Tuesday morning and this morning. I thought we had another good day, and we'll certainly tell the tale on Saturday afternoon and see how we perform against a good Louisiana Tech team. So we'll find out Saturday as far as the performance and the results you want. But as far as the things that I see within our football team, has been good.
South Carolina's still pretty good in your opinion, though, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was just one of them games. I think Kentucky's better than we think. And maybe they come in there sleepwalking a little bit because, the week before they did really well. It's kind of a hangover deal. And I think they caught them with their pants down, and I think that's what happened.
Hangover seems to be your theme this week. Is there a reason?
Hangover's a good thing as long as you can wake up. I hear people say, boy, I hate waking up with a hangover. I said, just be glad you woke up.
That's exactly right. It could be worse. All right, Tennessee can get a lot better. They're licking their wounds after that last-second touchdown. Florida beating them at the Swamp. They've got UMass coming in, which doesn't even sound daunting, and their 0-4 record proves that. That's a noon kick, 11 Central SEC Network.
Well, when you write it on the rock that you want your coach going, your coach better play good next week. And I've got a buddy of mine from Johnson City, Tennessee, big Tennessee guy, big supporter, and he's mad because they lost that game last second. I said, well, you didn't get mad last year when you won a couple last second. So, that happens. That's going to happen. I think Tennessee wins the game. Tennessee's 26.5-point favorite. That's not going to happen. They won't cover that, and they're going to look bad against UMass. But, Scott, you know it, and I know it. I don't really think Butch Jones, I think he's a good coach. I don't think he's an SEC coach because I'm going to tell you something, and this may make sense to you, it may not. I don't think, all his rah-rah stuff and all his speeches and all his motivational stuff, that works really good on a 1- and 2-star athlete. But a 5-star athlete that's going to go, and he knows when he signs with that college at 3 or 4 years, he's going to be playing in the NFL. He don't want to hear that. So you're never going to get the great athlete if you're that type of coach going into a living room, because Nick Saban can roll in there and tell you, I've got 48 players right now on rosters in the NFL. Where are you going to sign?
Yeah.
If you're a big time athlete. So I think if you put him like he was in the MAC, he's a great MAC coach. He'll do good in Mountain West.
Yeah.
He'll do good in Conference USA. He'll be a great coach. But he's never going to make it, in my opinion, in a big-time program like Tennessee.
But they will beat this team, UMass.
Well, me and you 11 drunk buddies could beat this team.
I know, but still.
Barefooted. We could do it barefooted.
No cleats. Yeah. All right. So
we might have, if it gets real tough the fourth quarter, we might have to put socks on, but we could do it barefoot.
All right. So Tennessee wins this game, but here's what Butch Jones said after that game last week. He had to change something in the practice schedule.
Obviously, last weekend was a very disappointing loss for all of us, but it's all in how you respond. It's all in how you move on. It's really, this week has been getting back to the small details, the details of what it takes to play winning football. We can't turn the football over. We can't add pre-snap penalties. We need to impact the quarterback much more. We need tackles for loss, and we have to improve our overall tackling, especially in space. So a lot of things that we need to do to improve upon, but I've liked the mindset of our football team.
This is the Chicken Fried.
You know, well, I'm a chicken fried.
Football forecast, Scott Griffin and comedian Tim Statum here with you. Now we're going to take a step away from the SEC for a moment and talk about some of the big games happening elsewhere. A little bit better schedule this week than last week, and we start with TCU, who whipped Arkansas pretty good already this year. They're number 16 in the country. They are taking on number 6, Oklahoma State, who's got one of the best quarterbacks in America.
He really is. He's really good. And I do like TCU. I think Patterson's been there a long time. He's done a really good job. A lot of people don't realize it, Scott, but he's been there. You know, he took over for Francione when he left to come to Alabama. So that's a long time ago. The first program that come out with him, it was probably in black and white. So it's been a while. But I do think Oklahoma State wins the game. They're 11.5-point favorite. May not win it by that, but I do like the way that they're playing. They're scoring a lot of points.
So TCU loses this one to Oklahoma State. I think Oklahoma State's a legitimate possible playoff team, don't you?
I do too. And what they need to do is take up a love offering and try to get that coach's hair fixed because it don't look good.
He's got a mullet, man.
The mullet's gone, brother. If you're going to have the mullet, you've got to run the wishbone. There's no other way around it.
To be old school all the way around.
Yeah,
all right.
You've got to. You've got to wear bell bottoms and flip flops on the sideline.
All right, let's go to Notre Dame and Michigan State. Michigan State, normally a really good team, as you know. Last year didn't do as good. I think Notre Dame's maybe a little bit better than we thought because they gave Georgia a heck of a game. What do you think?
Well, I'm going to tell you, Notre Dame is a 4.5-point favorite in this game. They're going to, they've got to go to East Lansing, play this game. Now, I'm going to tell you, this is another little upset special. I'm not going to call it a stunner because I don't know if people will be stunned by it because I think Notre Dame's coach is gone probably after this year. If he's not run off, he'll probably leave on his own because he's sick of it. But I think Michigan State wins this ball game.
Why is that?
Yeah. I think the location, just playing there, I think this time of year it's time to turn it around. I love their coach. I think they got a great coach. He had a terrible year last year, but I think he's got okay players. I wouldn't say great players, but I think this now, Scott. I think anytime you're playing Notre Dame, it's the helmet game. If you're playing Notre Dame and you see those gold helmets come out, you're going to play a little better than you probably could play. It's like playing Alabama. If you come in there and you're a high school team, you're going to probably play your best game of the year when you play Alabama, although you get beat by 47 points.
All right, UCLA at Stanford. UCLA came back against Texas A&M. That's the one we have our eyes on. But Jim Mora's kind of, he's got to win this year, too, to keep people at bay. And then what's happened to David Shaw and the Stanford team, man? They've just kind of steered off course here.
Well, I'm going to tell you what I think happened to them. I think USC getting better, maybe pulling some recruits over there away from him, and some of these other teams on the West Coast getting a little bit better, I think that's hurt him because he's kind of in the same boat with Vanderbilt. You're going to have to be able to spell your name or you can't play on this team.
That's right.
And, smart school, and I know a lot of kids don't want to hear that, but I think that's probably hurt him a little bit. But Stanford is a 9.5-point favorite.
Wait, are you – hold on. Are you saying only dumb players are good players?
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all. I just say they're faster because they're used to running from the law. But in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
But I think UCLA wins this game. And I know it tonight, and they're playing, playing at Stanford's home field and everything. Stanford is a 9.5-point favorite. But I think UCLA wins the game. That's one of my – I think he's got to win this game, or he doesn't have a job. He's going to be selling aluminum siding, and they don't even sell that anymore.
That'd be hard to say. That'd be a hard job.
It's kind of like in pet rocks. Who wants them?
You probably got one of them little spinner things they make these days.
I don't, but I wish I had a bunch of pet rocks because I got a bunch of neighbors I'd throw them at.
All right, let's go to North Carolina State. A lot of people's favorite. I know you had some love for that team, the Wolfpack. You love them for more than their nickname. They're at Florida State, who hasn't played, it seems like, since 2015.
I know, I know it. I mean, they had to wash their uniforms because they got smelling bad after 21 days. Well, you know, I said this on our show last week. I do believe, and I said this before the season started. North Carolina State, they didn't come out as strong as I hoped that they would because they had a lot of people coming back. I thought they would either beat Florida State or Clemson before the year was out. Well, I just about took Clemson off the board because they look pretty good. I think North Carolina State is going to sneak in here, and they may not win the game, but they'll keep it under the points. FSU is 12.5-point favorite. I believe FSU may win the game, but they will not cover. But I'm going to say it's going to be closer than you think. But I do believe FSU wins the game.
Really? Even with the freshman quarterback hasn't played now. He's had some practice, obviously, in 2 weeks.
But it goes back to athletes, and I think they've got SEC athletes.
Oh, there's no doubt because they certainly gave Alabama all they wanted, obviously, in the first game. So you like Florida State holding off North Carolina State. And obviously, it's at home as well. Now we go back to the SEC. Ole Miss is off. Well, they got a new coach, Matt Luke, obviously, who graduated there, played there, and I had a chance to talk to him earlier this week. I was just wondering what is the most difficult and then the easiest thing transitioning from assistant to head coach so late in the year?
Yeah, the most difficult for sure is just handling all of the little things that go with being a head coach, the media, the speaking engagements, the boosters, the people that come to practice. I mean, all those little things that go along with it. The easiest part is the football because that's what you've been doing, and I've really enjoyed being on both sides of the ball and motivating and teaching and just that's the part that's fun and the easiest transitioning. But I think the hardest is all the other things that come with it.
And with an off week before Bama, do you watch that game intently? Do you wait and watch the film and take off yourself, or how do you handle that?
Well, I think the biggest thing that we had to do first is ourselves because the scheme doesn't make any difference if you're not taking care of yourself first, and I think that's important. That we're trying to build a program here. We're trying to set a culture and a standard that we want to live up to. And when that doesn't happen in your game, you got to make sure that you take care of yourself first. But it does give you a little bit more time to prepare, maybe focus in on some of the smaller details that you wouldn't get to. So we have been watching a lot of Bama tape, but yesterday and today will be a lot of focus on us, and then probably tomorrow we'll get a really good jump start and have a couple extra days to practice for Bama.
All right, we wrap up our SEC play. Auburn at Missouri. Auburn was within a touchdown of Mercer as far as only being ahead in Auburn last Saturday. Just shocking. Now they're going on the road to Missouri, who wasn't much better as Purdue just Boilermakered them all over the field.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. When you start hearing people from Auburn saying that they seen Gus Malzahn down at the supermarket telling them, hey, y'all hang on to them boxes, I'll be back here next week to pick them up, somebody might be moving. So it's bad to get that close with Mercer. I watched some of that game. I didn't get to watch it all. But when you're in the fourth quarter with 4 minutes to go and you're only up 7 points, now I will say this. They had 5 turnovers, and we know what can happen when you have a bunch of turnovers.
I had a chance to ask Gus Malzahn about Jarrett Stidham and the fact he's broken in a lot of quarterbacks in his career. Hey, Gus, I was curious. You've broken in a lot of new quarterbacks. Have you learned how to best do it? Do you throw everything at them offensively and see what they retain and build on that each week, or do you build just step by step each week when you got a new quarterback coming in?
Yeah, I think each quarterback's different, but there's nothing like, from a coach's standpoint, getting a quarterback out there against another team. You learn a lot about them, and I think just from a coach's standpoint, you try to get things that they're comfortable with, and and do things that they can be successful with. So, I know it has been good information, for Chip with Jarrett the first couple games, and it's been good for Jarrett too, to get used to everything, new teammates and new coaches.
You've heard the talk like I have that Gus Malzahn needs a running quarterback to make his offense work and all those things. And I remember Chris Todd, and he was really good in your offense. Do you think that's overstated, and any running and throwing quarterback is going to be good in any offense? Just your opinion on that.
Yeah, of course, all the way back to Tulsa, we had guys that were very similar to Jarrett, and we were very, very good on offense. You just said Chris Todd, and last year we made a pretty good run there before Sean White got hurt. So, I definitely don't see it that way.
Now, of course, Gus Malzahn's had a tough week. He's had Byron Cowart, the 5-star defensive tackle, leave. Malzahn said he quit. Thought that was interesting. He used that word. And, of course, Sean White, he had to kick off the team after he got arrested for public intoxication. Sounds like your kind of guy, actually, now that I think about it.
I'm going to tell you something. Sean White comes to my house. We'll sit in front of this new kegerator I got that's full of beer. We'll get to drinking. 20 minutes later, I'll have him cussing out Gus Malzahn.
Well, he could do that. He's not on the team anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And we could even put it on Facebook. Nobody's going to care.
Facebook Live, Tim and his friend Sean.
That's right. Hey, Sean, get off that kegerator. The beer's running out of it, son. Quit leaning against the handle.
There you go. Now, Missouri, of course, they got troubles. Barry Odom's over there struggling. They had a players-only meeting earlier this week. Let's hear what Odom had to say about that.
The great thing about college football and where we are with 3 games in, we've got a lot of opportunities. We've got playmakers in a lot of different spots, and we've been able to correct mistakes. We've had very, very confident and upbeat and tempo practice. Our guys are willing to go work. They're willing to try to get the issues fixed. And, we've got to, as soon as we can go and get a first down, get our first down, get into the tempo of how we want to play. And we understand the importance of that. Our guys are, disappointed in our performance, but also know that we're not that far off to get things going.
He needs to do something because he fired his defensive coordinator. He's got to do something because it sounds like his boat's got a hole in it, and he's trying to get the water out.
There's no doubt about it. Can you believe the last time these two teams played, 59-42 in the 2013 SEC championship game?
I like Missouri, but I think that team is kind of over their head. I don't know, just like I talk about these coaches are not Southeastern Conference coaches, I don't know if that's a Southeastern Conference team. I really don't.
Well, they were in a couple of SEC championship games with Gary Pinkel, but they haven't done. They're going to have to figure it out pretty soon what they got. Finally, we close with Alabama, the number 1 team in the country. They haven't really played defense like they normally have. I know the pressuring the quarterback has been so key for Nick Saban's teams, getting pressure without blitzing. Although we know Jeremy Pruitt does blitz a lot, the quarterback pressures are down about 50% just from the front 4. Is this any cause of concern for Alabama?
Well, I think it is, but I don't think they need to panic because, I know the game looked a little closer than it probably should have been. But, Scott, I watched the end of the game. I watched the third and fourth quarter. Alabama was playing with a lot of new faces that I didn't know who they were. And, of course, the Rams kept everybody in that was, first string. And a lot of the injured is coming back this week. They're going to get to play. I think they've got 3 players that are real possibilities to play this week. So I think that's a good thing. I think Alabama beats Vandy, but I'm going to tell you, Vandy's got a good team. Their defensive front, you've watched them. They mix it up.
They're good.
They line up in the slot. They line up on some crazy formations, and they confuse you. And Alabama's had some confusion on blocking on the offensive line. And, you know it, and everybody knows it. If the center takes somebody heads up and the guard blocks down on him and leaves somebody open to the quarterback, that could be trouble. It's a good thing they've got Jalen Hurts. He can take off running. Very athletic quarterback. He can take a lick because he's a strong kid. But you don't want that because, we're in week 4 coming up. You start getting him hit a lot, and you get into late in the season, he's going to be out of gas.
I think this one's going to be a little bit better game in Nashville than people think. They beat Middle Tennessee, who's a pretty good football team, not a bad football team, and they played them on the road, beat Alabama A&M, shut them out, of course, and then beat top 25 Kansas State 14-7. So they're giving up 4.3 points a game. That's a small sampling, but 13 total points on the year for Derek Mason. He's a defensive guy, and like I said, I always like a coach whose expertise when he's the head coach, that they're good at that, you know?
Well, and I'll tell you, a lot of people don't know it, but if you look at a lot of the defensive stats right now, they're number one in the nation in a lot of stats.
Yeah, 198 yards a game, 198 yards a game.
Of course, they hadn't played in the SEC yet. They hadn't even opened up the season yet, and it's going to get a little tougher, and those numbers will go away. And I think they'll do good, and I think the fans will show up. There'll be at least 126 Vandy fans there. The rest of them will be in a parking lot, probably getting drunk and having a spelling bee. But now, I'm going to tell you, Alabama wins this game because Alabama's the number one team in the country. They got great athletes. They got the best coaching staff that money can buy. They win the game. I'm not sure that they cover. Now, last week I told you that the Rams would not let Alabama cover, and it would be a lot closer. Colorado State played really good. Alabama did not cover, and I said they would probably beat them worse, beat Vandy worse than they did them. I don't know that I believe that now because I didn't think Vandy was going to beat K-State, and they did. But Alabama will not cover the 19.5, but they will win the game.
All right, we'll find out. Let's hear from Nick Saban. He's been very impressed looking at video of Derek Mason's Vanderbilt defense.
I think they've got a really good team. They play well. They're really well coached. They play hard, physical, tough. They've got very good schemes on offense and defense and special teams. So when you watch the film, you see a really good team that's really well coached, and I think Derek deserves a lot of credit for that.
Meanwhile, Derek Mason, he don't like talking about where Vanderbilt is. They're 3-0 and all that kind of stuff. He knows this is a huge opportunity for the Commodores against the Tide.
4 weeks ago, nobody was really talking about Vanderbilt. And, man, if there's word out there now, I don't pay much attention to social media, man. I don't read blogs. All I try to do, man, is make sure I can take care of these kids because that's my job. My job is to serve these kids and make sure that we can line up and play football. And you know what? They bought into that fact, too. It's an older group, man, and they're not distracted by things that don't matter. All they know is, man, they've got an opportunity on Saturday, to play a ball game. And they're really preparing or have learned how to prepare, each week as though it's the same. So they've gotten into a routine of, not trying to get comfortable, whether it's Alabama or Alabama A&M. Man, for us, man, the preparation and the work still got to get done. So I like where this group's at. We're just going to keep grinding.
Can you believe we are at week 4? We ain't even played week 4, Tim, and Mississippi State, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt are all unbeaten. That's the first time it's happened since 1911. Give us your Statum stunners one more time.
Kentucky beating Florida. Florida's 4-point favorite. Went out on that limb last week, and I knew I was out on the limb, and I actually chopped it off, and I was standing on it. I had Louisville beating Clemson. That didn't happen, and I feel about the same way about this game, but you never know about this game. North Carolina State, if they don't beat FSU, I think FSU will win, but they'll keep them under the number of 12. But I guess my stunner would be UCLA beating Stanford. Stanford's 9.5-point favorite.
We appreciate you listening to the Chicken Fried
I'm a chicken fried
football forecast. Myself, Scott Griffin, and Tim Statum. Tim, tell people how they can get in on some of your comedy CDs, your DVDs, and stuff like that at timstatum.com.
If you want to check out my show, I'm all over YouTube, Tim Statum, comedian Tim Statum, or you can go to rooftopcomedy.com. I'm all over that. Go to timstatum.com. Get information if you need a Christmas party, private show, anything like that. Or go to the Stardome Comedy Club in Birmingham. You can call those fine folks, and they can hook you up with me, and we can go that way. But, hey, if you need a party, I'm coming. I got a pickup truck. I can do the show naked, with shoes on, with them off, however you want it.
And, yeah, if you got a Christmas party or a gathering, Tim can certainly do all those kind of things for you. It sounds like you're everywhere. Maybe the better question is, where are you not? That'd take a short amount of time.
And if you want a clean show, I'll keep my clothes on.
That'll be good. All right. We appreciate you listening to the Chicken Fried Football Forecast. Tim Statum and Scott Griffin. We're doing it every week. Look for it on podbean.com, Tide and Tiger at podbean.com, and the Tide and Tiger YouTube channel as well. Any comments, welcome. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week with the Chicken Fried
You know, well, I'm a chicken fried
Football Forecast.